All right. So today we are continuing on in 1 Samuel. Today we've moved on to 1 Samuel chapter 5. We're going to be in the first 5 verses of 1 Samuel chapter 5. If you want to get it up and ready, I think it's just it's a funny story. There's a few stories in the Bible that I find very humorous. This to me is one of the funniest stories in the Bible in 1 Samuel chapter 5. So 1 Samuel chapter 5 is really fun. We've kind of been building up to it. Last week we talked about how they lost the Ark of the Covenant in battle, how the Philistines took it over, how now the Ark of the Covenant is gone, and now we're going to follow the Ark of the Covenant into the Philistines' land, into the temple. But first, if you go to the next slide, I like to start off with a joke. There's lots of gods in the Bible. You've got, Baal, you've got Dagon, you've got Shemesh, you've got Asherah, you've got all these different fake gods in the Bible. So what happened to all the gods in the Bible? Does anybody know what happened to all these gods? They're gone. The gods, they were here, but now they're gone. They're gone somewhere else. They're gone. The god Dagon, never mind. You'll get it later. Okay, Dagon. The gods are gone. All right, so next slide. So I want to talk about the Philistines first before we get to Dagon. Philistines are a major people in the Bible, and I want you to kind of think of them kind of like thinking about like pirates or Vikings. They started off as these people who would just raid. They would go, they had these battleships, they had this great weapon technology. They would go, they would raid, then they would come home. They would go, they would raid, then come home. But they became so successful, they started creating these outposts all over the place. And one of the outposts became known as the land of the Philistines. So that's kind of what all those arrows are going all over the place. All right, so go to the next slide. Mostly, it's this dark blue area is the area where they had power. But they raided all up and down in the light blue area as well. This is the land of ancient Israel, and they had a lot of strength. They had military might that was far superior to the Israelites. They were a very brutal and intense people group. And Israel again and again and again lost battles to them, and lost over and over and over. Next slide. So this is kind of the land over by Jerusalem. There's 5 main cities in the Philistine territory. You have Ashdod, Ekron, Ashkelon, Gath, and a city called Gaza. If you've been following the news at all, this is the same Gaza that's happening in the Gaza Strip. The main city, Gaza, is over on the coast, and then that area down below it is the Gaza Strip. So it's the same territory, the same kind of area that war's been going on for the last 3 years. So this is the area of the Philistines, and Israel never could get rid of them. They never removed them. They could never defeat them, destroy them completely. Eventually, the same thing happened to them that happened to all the other nations. Babylon or Assyria or Egypt or somebody came and eventually just wiped them out, and they kind of got removed from history, except for the fact that when the Romans were naming the area and the land, they called the area Palestine after the Philistines. And so that name, Palestine, is named after the Philistine people because they were so intense and so powerful and ruled that area with such an iron grip. All right, next slide. This is a cutaway in Egypt because the Philistines were so powerful they even raided Egypt. Back in that time, you would not talk about your enemies in a positive way. You would never say anything good about your enemies. You would just run them down. But even the Egyptians talked about how ruthless and how powerful and what the might of the Philistines were. Even though they were a very small territory, their battle prowess was intense. And they wore these head coverings. It's not clear whether that's feathers on the top of their heads or horns, but they had some type of head covering that was very significant to the people. And they were just intense everywhere they went. All right, next slide. So I looked up Ashdod. The story today is going to take place in Ashdod. Sometimes you look up these old places and say, it used to be called Ashdod. What is it called now? It's still called Ashdod. Okay, there's no name change there. But this is what it looks like. The ruins right there, right next to the beach. Looks like a pretty cool place to be, especially if you go to the next picture. Looks like, I think, I'd really like to be here. If you go to the next slide. Look at that. Look at that big pool, that big marina, all those towers. Zoom out the next picture. It shows even more, just that area. That's backwards? Yep. Yeah, like that. Look at that. I mean, come on. Looks like a pretty cool place to be, Ashdod. Looks like it's on the coast. It's the 6th biggest city in all of Israel today. A huge place of trade and commerce, an interesting place. But back in the day, it was a Philistine city, and it was their temple city for their main god, who was known as Dagon. Next slide. Dagon, we think, looks something like this. Somewhat how we'd imagine a mermaid. The tail of a fish, the body of a man. That's usually what we picture him as. We don't have any specific pictures This is an Assyrian picture. We're pretty sure it looked just about something like that. Okay, so I'm going to read the story. We're in 1 Samuel chapter 5. I'm going to read through 1 through 5 in the New International Version. After the Philistines had captured the Ark of God, they took it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. Then they carried the ark into Dagon's temple and set it beside Dagon. When the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, there was Dagon, fallen on his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord. They took Dagon and they put him back in his place. But the following morning, when they rose, there was Dagon, fallen on the ground before the ark of the Lord. His head and his hands had been broken off and were lying on the threshold, and only his body remained. This is why, to this day, neither the priests of Dagon nor any other who entered Dagon's temple at Ashdod step on the threshold. All right, that's what we're going to be talking about today, just those 5 verses. So apparently, it broke apart so intensely that his head lay right at the door, and you're not even allowed to walk at that part of the door. You got to kind of like walk around because he's seen as holy. So if you go to the next slide, this is what it looks like. We start off with Dagon. He's on like this setup thing, and then, next slide, they bring in the ark. So they got the ark, they're in front of Dagon, they leave him overnight, but then something happens. Next slide. All of a sudden, Dagon's laying on the ground. How embarrassing if you're the priest. How embarrassing if you're in charge of this place. It's like if we walked in here, but like the TVs were on the ground, the cross had fallen over, you guys would think something's up in here. Like that's a problem. And I'm sure they thought, oh man, somebody didn't secure Dagon, like he got loose. Like we need to prop him up. Make sure this doesn't happen again. This is embarrassing. All right, so they set him back up. Next slide. They set him back up. They got ready for the next day. And then they come in and it's worse. Next slide. Then they come in. If you go to the next slide. And he's broken. Not only is he fallen, he's fallen so hard, his hands are broken off, his face and his head have come off. Now it's really embarrassing, right? Now it's like you can't even just hide it by setting it back up. What I find interesting is that the Philistine people, they didn't say, you know what? Clearly Dagon's not God. Clearly we should worship this other God. Like they try to get rid of the ark after this. Instead of praising the ark, following the ark, finding whose God this is that could make this happen, they're like, this ark is causing problems. We got to get rid of it. This ark is causing issues. Instead of saying, clearly our God has a problem, they're like, no, we got to keep our idol. We got to keep our God. This Ark of the Covenant thing, it's causing issues. It has to go. Because it's making us feel inconvenient. Because it's breaking the thing that we love and worship. Because it's getting in the way of what we want to do. We got to move this thing out of here. We're going to talk about that next week. That's the rest of this chapter and the next chapter. But they hate the ark after this. They're like, we got to get it out of here. We got to move it. Now, this was a normal custom at this time. Everybody kind of had their regional area, their regional gods. This God versus that God. And when you won, you would take their idols, their gods, and you would put it in their temple to show, hey, our God is better than their God. Kind of like our football team is better than their football team. Or our group is better than their group. We're going to show them by putting their gods in our temple. Except it didn't work out so good here. The Ark of the Covenant, somehow through God's power, God chose to move and put that statue down, face first, bowing. And then hit it so hard that it broke apart. Lost its head, lost its hands, came to pieces. We don't really know what size this statue is, but I like this next picture, if you go to the next slide, that it could have been really big. Like it could have been like a huge statue, like giant like that. It could have been this enormous thing that fell down. Or if you go to the next slide, it could have been something like this. That's an Egyptian statue, but look how small the woman is compared to it. Imagine if that was the size of the statue. Never had problems with the statue before. This idol has always stayed up straight, and now that the Ark of the Covenant is there, it just keeps falling over, keeps falling over, keeps falling over. So, if you're following God, the idols in your heart have to fall over. The things in your heart that are not of God, they have to bow. You don't have room for both. You do not have room for God and things that are not of God inside of you. And they will constantly be at war, frustrating each other. And you'll have to decide which God is more important to you, which thing you're following more, which is superior, which gets your time, your focus, your money, your worship, your praise, and which one is subservient to the other. And whether or not you have to get rid of God, kind of push him to the side, or whether the other things in your life, the other idols, have to go. Next slide. So, I'm not against the show American Idol. I don't want anybody hearing that I hate the show. It's fine. But I'm saying that the idea of the show was that they were going to create an idol that Americans could worship. They were going to create celebrities. They were going to create people who made music that was so good that everyone would idolize them. Everyone would want to be like that person or focused on that person. American Idol. I mean, the name just says it all. Like, we want to create idols. And in our society, we don't really have like idols, like little statues. Sometimes you see them in a Chinese restaurant or something, like a little Buddha or something, or at an Indian place. But we don't really have little statues. What we have are celebrities. What we have are people in our society that we know so much about for any other reason except for they're really talented. They can sing really good. They can act really good. They're really good at sports. Like, we know the names. I don't know how many celebrities you could name right now. I could name way too many. Like, I know so much about people who I've never met, who have no impact on my life. They were in a really cool movie once, or they could play music really well, or they could throw the football so well. And you know what? They're kind of up here in my head. I kind of think about them from time to time. And that's about the idols for our society. Sometimes we idolize people as if they're beyond us, as if they're more powerful than us. And sometimes they can become almost gods in our society. If you go to the next slide, like, just look at the people just praising, like leaning towards him. Like, it almost looks religious. It's not just famous singers, famous musicians, famous actors. You go to the next slide, it can easily be anybody that's talented. Just look at that for a second. Think about it as a religious thing, not as a statue we give for people who sing or act. But that looks like a giant idol, right? We give out these little idols to people who are the best at holding our attention, who we focus on, who we say, you are better than the rest. You are the best singer, or the best actor, or the best person on TV. We even call them that, right? Best actor, best director, best writer, best this. And we give them these little golden idols. It's kind of weird, right? It's kind of odd for our society that claims to be secular, claims to not have gods, and yet we have all these little gods that we give all of our time and our worship and our praise. Okay, I'm not saying it's wrong to know celebrities. I'm not saying it's wrong to be aware of stuff like this. But I think it is something in our society, when we put people on a pedestal, it's like they're superhuman. It's like we sometimes treat people as if they are beyond, as if they're almost gods, as if they're a little better than us, as if they are so much further than us because they can do things that are extraordinary, because they've done things that are extraordinary. Sometimes we give them lots of honor and focus. If you go to the next slide, there's an argument that this is the greatest athlete of all time. This is not my opinion, but most people say that Michael Phelps is the greatest athlete of all time because he's won lots of gold medals. Does anybody know how many medals that Michael Phelps has won in the Olympics? Give me a guess. Give me a number. Somebody shout something out.
17.
17. Good. It's higher. Somebody else. 30. Close. A little lower. Little 28. I think it is 28. I'm not doubting myself. It's 28 or 27. But 28, 27 medals he has won at the Olympics. Again and again and again and again. So him, like most great athletes, I think that they're a freak of nature, okay? Like, they are like superhuman, like they are extra big, extra strong. Michael Phelps' body creates half the amino acid of a normal person's body, which means he sweats at a rate which is half the rate that we sweat. Like, his body physically does stuff that my body could not do at the same pace because his body is just built differently. And you see that when you see like a tall basketball player and they got like this reach and it's huge, or a baseball player and they're so huge, or a football player and they just crash into each other, these giants of men. And we treat these people like they're huge and important and significant in our culture, in our society. Now, he just swims. That's all he does. He gets in the pool and he swims. Like, he hasn't changed world hunger. He hasn't saved lives as far as I know. He just swims. But yet we know his name and we celebrate him and we like give him honor and praise. How many people do we give our time and our focus to that aren't really worth it? Like, their character is not worth it, or their family time is not worth it, or their attitude is not worth it. Like, we love celebrities in our culture, and it's very easy for us to idolize them. To think, man, if I could do that, I could have this house, or I could have that money, or have that lifestyle. Isn't that great? These have become our idols in America. The people who are huge. So not just the people who can do athletic things, or they can sing or dance, or they can put on a show, but also, this next slide, this other group of people, politicians we idolize. Politicians who have power. We can become obsessed with politicians. We can become just intensely aware of everything in their life and everything they say and everything they do, to the point where sometimes it can border on idolatry. Sometimes it can border on the fact that we need them to save us. We need them to do things for us. Sometimes it can border on the fact where we pour too much into them. And I mean that with all these things. It's okay to know who was in a movie, or it's okay to like a favorite singer. But when it becomes something of an obsession, and I feel like as a culture, as a whole, I feel like sometimes we're very obsessed with people. Sometimes we're absorbed in these people's lives, and we care way too much about these people who we don't know, who we haven't met, who we're not really connected to, but they've become super, super successful, and we idolize success. And politicians, I think, is the easiest one, because they represent us, or we voted for them, or we gave money to their campaign, or we care about them. We can become really, really, really focused on politicians and on how we want them to do things for us, and how we can almost look to them like they're little gods. Like they're little gods who can change things. They're little gods who can help us. They're little gods who can make differences. Yes, their decisions do make differences, but sometimes we look to them more than we look to our God, to our Father, to our Jesus, who really is the most important one for us. Next slide. All right. I've asked one trivia question. I got one more trivia question for you. This is more of a Bible trivia question. In the Bible, there are two types of angels that are mentioned. Does anybody know what the two types of angels in the Bible that are mentioned? Wait, I hear Jimbo. What? Say it louder, come on. No, come on, no. What? Cherubim, Does anybody know the other kind? Cherubim and... Come on, you can say it.
Seraphim.
That's right, cherubim and seraphim. Good job. Have confidence, man. You got it right. Cherubim and seraphim are the two types of angels in the Bible that are mentioned by name. Okay? Go to the next slide. So the first one I talked about was cherubim. Cherubim have 4 wings. They're often depicted as guardians of the sacred place. The word cherubim means to bless or to praise. So these are the angels that are constantly blessing God, they're praising God. All right, so you got cherubim. Go to the next slide, we're going to talk about seraphim. Seraphim have 6 wings. They're known for praising God in His presence. They're called like the burning ones, like the powerful ones. Here's where it gets interesting. The word idol in the Bible, like the original Hebrew word for idol, is an idol. If you go to the next slide, the original Hebrew word for idol is teraphim. Cherubim, seraphim, and the idols are called teraphims, which could be disgraceful things, dirty rags. But when I hear teraphim, I think terra, like terra firma, like the earth, like something from the earth that we're seeing as fem, as is divine. Something from here that we're treating as if it is superhuman, it is divine, it is powerful. That's what the idols were in the ancient times. They would hold up this rock, or they would carve this clay, or they would do something, and they would honor it and worship it. It's from earth. It's not a god. It doesn't have any power, but they would treat it as such. And sometimes we treat things from earth as if they are divine, as if they are God, as if they have more power than they actually do, and we focus on them. We treat them as if they're like angelic beings that have all this power, when actually it's just stuff, or they're just people. I went to a church a while back, and the pastor went to a presidential inauguration. He was one of the praying people at the presidential inauguration. And so he talked about like being in the presence of all of these presidents, of all of these people, of all these major people we see on TV, of all the House speakers. And he talked about like he was so close, he was closer to them, or as close as them as I am to you. And he said as he sat there and watched them, it dawned on him that they're just people. Like these are just people. Like we give them all this time and attention and focus, and we think about them and we fixate on them, but they're just people with their own flaws, with their own family issues, with their own struggles, that they're not like some future divine powerful thing. And I think we all know that to some aspect, but then on the other hand, if it's somebody you really care about, if it's somebody you really focused on, if it's somebody you follow their career, sometimes it can get to a level where we care about them too much, or we focus on somebody too much. And it's very easy in our culture for celebrities to become idols to us. Next slide. All right, so we don't usually have idols, like little things we carry around and pray to. That's not how we do idols in America. Usually it's something that takes more time and focus that we think about more than God. Something that we can love more than God. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. God gives us lots of good things, but sometimes we can focus on those good things, but they can become an idol to us because they're more important to us. Sometimes more important to us even than God, but sometimes their place is out of place. All right, if you go to the next slide, there's 3 things I think that generally as Americans that we can idolatrize, that we can focus on. The first one, the next slide, is technology. Sometimes we can think technology. There's some people who are obsessed with having the latest gadget, latest gizmo. AI is going to fix everything. Sometimes we can focus on technology as if it's a god, and we can make that an idol. Next slide. Far more common, I think, it's easy to make your job an idol. There are many people who sacrifice their family for their job. They sacrifice their life for their job. Their job, I want people to have jobs, I support jobs, but sometimes a job can become an idol, where that becomes a person's identity. That becomes a person's world, a person's focus, to the absence of God, to the absence of the good things God wants you to have. Or even, next slide, family can become an idol. Family's a good thing. I want you to have families. I want you to have good people around you, good connections. But sometimes we can focus so much on our family that we're not being the people God has called us to be. Or sometimes we're so focused on our family that we miss things of God. Now I say that, my family is not in church today. My son is playing soccer today at a tournament. But if he was doing that every week, I would say that's an idol. But once a year, a couple times a year, I'm okay with that. But it can become something where family takes the place of God. And family trips, family outings, family stuff is more important than God. And you end up not having enough time for God because you're so focused on your family. That can be an idol. I think the biggest idol, though, if I'm talking about us, if I'm talking about me as a person, the biggest idol, if you go to the next slide, the biggest idol I face is me. Is me. Now, I hope I'm not your idol. I hope you're not worshiping me. But maybe it's easy to focus on yourself as an idol. Maybe you love you a lot. Maybe you love you borderline as much as God or more than God. I like to be comfortable. I like to sit back. I like to, if I'm honest, be lazy. I like to just rest and relax. And it can be easy for me to make my preferences very important. It can be easy to make my opinions very important. It can be easy for me to inflate who I am and myself and love myself to an unhealthy event. And our society kind of pushes us in that way. We live in a society that focuses on your choice, your wants, on you, to the point where sometimes we can make ourselves an idol above God, to where we love ourselves more than we love God, to the point where if we have to sacrifice some of us, some of me, some of my time, my money, my focus, I don't know if I want to give God all that now, right? Like, I don't know if I'm going to do that for him because I love me and I want my things my way. And I think really the biggest idol we usually have is ourselves, because of how we spend our lives, how we spend our time is often on us. And sometimes we miss the things of God. These are not bad things, but when they become the main thing, that's when it becomes an idol. That's when it becomes a problem. Next slide. One of the biggest ways this happens, it's not us bowing down. It's not us physically leaning down to create an idol. It's not. You know, we honor our idols in different ways. We go to the next slide. There's three main things that I feel like we worship. There's different definitions of worship. Today I'm going with the definition of worship is to show worth, to say something is worthy, to say something is honorable, to say something becomes the focus. So if we're talking about the way we worship, the way we show that there's something that's important to us, we're showing its worth. There are three ways we do that. The first way, next slide, is with our time. The things that you spend time on are things that matter to you. The things that you spend your time on are how you spend your lives. The way you spend your days are the way you spend your life. The way you spend your minutes, your hours, that's your life. And sometimes we can spend all of our time on ourselves, or on our hobbies, or even on our family, to the detriment to what God is calling us to do. Sometimes God wants us to sacrifice our time, to give our time for something else, for him, for his kingdom. And that can be hard because we live busy lives. We live full lives. But how we spend our time shows what we worship, shows what we think is important to us. Next slide. Next thing is our money. I can tell you what you love by telling you what your checkbook says. I can. Hey, this is what I care about. This is what I'm spending money on. This is what I value. This is what matters to me. And if you are spending so much time, so much money on something, that's something that matters to you. And maybe God is saying, hey, I want a little bit of that back. Maybe God is saying, hey, I want you to focus more on me. Maybe I want more of your time out of your week. Maybe I want a few more dollars. I don't know. All of us in here are individuals. All of us in here have different things we're struggling with, wrestling with. But maybe there's something in your life that you've been spending more time, more money than God is asking you to do. I don't know. But if he's speaking to your heart, I urge you to listen to him. I urge you to challenge yourself. I urge you to serve in ways that he is calling you to. So your time, your money, and the third thing is your focus on the next slide. Focus. What you focus on. What you focus on. We can only focus on so many things. We can only handle so many things. There's only so many things that we can intensely focus on. And by focusing on something, we're saying this is worth it to me. This is worth it to me to focus on this. This is worth it to me to give to this. These are also issues we can have with boundaries in relationships. Sometimes we're giving more time, more money, more focus to somebody than we should be. Somebody we are giving more into a person that we don't need to be. And sometimes we give too much and then we have to come back. And we have to say, you know what, I can't give you so much time. Or you know what, I can't give you so much money or focus because I need to give this in other places. God has only given you so much time, so much focus, so much money. And you got to use it in the places that he is calling to you that is the best. Next slide. Now, this, I think, has been one of the major negatives of our society. 2008, the first smartphone came out, and it has changed us as a culture. It has changed us as a world. It has changed us because now instantly you can have whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. You can have whatever food you want ordered to you. You can buy clothes. You can book a hotel room. You can do everything on your phone, which is amazing, which I'm thankful for. But the problem is it's too easy. It's too good. The problem is social media focuses on you. The problem is your feed focuses on you. The problem is that thing knows you sometimes better than you know yourself. The problem is that knows how to advertise you, manipulate you, and even almost control us in certain ways. Because this is the ultimate device which is about us. Because it's your phone, it has your apps, it has your phone numbers, it has your streaming services, it has your stuff that's all about you. And intrinsically, it tells you that you are the most important person and that you have the world focused on you. And subtly, in little ways, it makes us focus on ourselves. It does. There's several awesome things about the teenagers in this room, the young people in this room, and this generation. More than any other generation, since they've been keeping track of numbers, this generation has less drunk driving, less teen drinking, less alcohol use, less teen pregnancy, less all the major things that they were concerned about in your generation and mine. Like, these numbers are super, super, super low compared to other previous generations. What they have more of is more anxiety, more depression, more loneliness, more isolation. Because this thing makes idols out of all of us. It does, because it focuses on us. And this is the first generation that's grown up with it, that's had it as a major point of their development. And so the whole world will change because of this. And the issue is, it makes us the center, the focus, the target. It makes us all about us. And we can make ourselves an idol and put ourselves in place of God. So I don't know what idols are in your heart. I don't know what things you struggle with. I don't know what things you're paying a lot of attention to, and maybe God wants some of that attention back. Or what things you're spending money on or time on or focus on, and God's saying, hey, I want some more of that. I want some more of your time. Hey, I want you to read your word more. Hey, I want you to help somebody else more. Hey, I want you to give to this cause more. I don't know. I don't know you in that deep and personal way. But if there is something that you feel like God is moving in your heart, if there is something that you're feeling a little stirring of, like, I urge you to let it go, like to cut it out, to move things in your life. Idols are more than just sin. I think in the church it's easy for us to say, well, if you don't sin, you don't do this, 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 and this, then you don't have any idols. But I think sometimes we can make ourselves idols. I think sometimes we can make our families idols. I think sometimes I make me an idol because I want what I want, and I want it my way. And I want people to know it's my way. And I want people to follow me. And it's not about me. My life is about God. My time is about God. My focus should be on God. My money should be representing God and his life. It should not be about me. Because ultimately, I'm here for him. He created me for him. And I don't have anything in my life that comes between me and him. So if you go to the next slide, I've just been thinking about this a lot. Like, my prayer has been, God, like, break the idols in my heart. Like, the parts of me that are no good. The things that, like, I'm putting my hands to that you don't want me to. The things that I'm putting my face on, but they're not of you. God, like, break it. I don't want to have that. I don't want to live with stuff that is ruining me, that's pulling me apart from God. I just want to give God all of my worship, all of my time, all of my heart, all of me. Because if I'm not, then I'm creating idols. And if I'm not, I'm kind of pushing the Ark of Covenant away so I can put me back on the stand and focus on me. So as we play this next song, I just really want you to wrestle with God and say, God, is there things in my life or my heart that I should change? If you want to come up to the altar and pray, you are welcome to. If you want to pray at your seat, you're welcome to. If there's something you feel like you need to do business with God, I want you to do it. If you're hearing this song and you enjoy the song, sing along, enjoy the song. But I just want this to be a time of worship, a time of focus, a time of repentance for God before I come up to close the message. All right, if you go to the next slide.